Idris Elba has come out. This is an article in The Telegraph where he talks about he faced a certain amount of disgusting racism based around the idea that he should play James Bond. On one hand, I kind of feel bad for the guy because it feels like one of those situations where people are arguing in your, like on a comment thread in one of your posts on social media, and you're like, leave me out of this. It's like he didn't ask for this. He didn't really advocate for the part. It just feels like his name gets dropped because he's a handsome, tall British dude that people want to play James Bond that just happens to be black, right?
Well, if he was voted by the UK as the most popular candidate to play James Bond, is racism really a factor here? So, I think he's kind of blowing it out of proportion and making something out of nothing just to complain.
So it says Idris Elba has revealed he has been put off of playing James Bond after years of being subjected to disgusting racism when rumors developed that he would take up the role. Now, here's the thing. I don't have a hard time believing that you would get some like awful messages. The problem is distinguishing between the two, right? Somebody like me who says that I don't think he's right for the role because he's too old and I'd rather see him play a villain should not be lumped in with the people who are saying like something disgusting. You can't play this role because of this color of your skin. You're gross. Get out of here. That's not the same thing. And the problem has become that we no longer draw distinguished lines between fair critique of a casting choice and racism.
Well, it's one thing to say that a character should remain like, if a traditionally white straight male character is gonna get race swapped or gender swapped simply because, you know, we need to take straight white males down a peg, then I'm not interested in that conversation. If you're saying you want Idris Elba to be James Bond because you think he's the best guy for the role, that's a whole other conversation.
And I have kind of I don't agree with it all the time, but I've come around to, I understand the argument why people say like, not at all, don't change anything. Because look, I made a post the last time we talked about this and somebody came into my Twitter and basically he, without watching the video where we talked about it, started like saying like, basically calling everyone a xenophobic racist for having any desire for Idris Elba to not play the role. And I said like, look, man, I'm willing to have the conversation about it. Like, you know, whatever. Like we were talking about like, and about like female James Bond, right? I was like, that's a no-go, right? And he basically goes, yes, also trans James Bond. Like you give them 1 inch,
exactly.
They take 10,000 miles, right? Like and it was almost like he's doing it because he was like trying to get a rise out of me. Like he's trying to get me to like argue with him about it. And like, he's like, cause he put like an annoying smiley face at the end of it. Like he's like mocking you for it. So I get it. But in the case for this is like, look, he's too old and casting decisions come with thousands of form factors that go well beyond just who the race and gender of the character, right? There's marketability. They now talk about how strong is your social media presence when casting someone for a role. A lot of things go in for this role. He probably would be a fantastic casting option for a non-purist, right? And it probably would do great numbers at the box office. But if you're going to make it central to the character, I think it's stupid. I don't think it matters.
Well, he said,
or I don't think it should matter. I don't think it should be part of the character. Not that I don't think it should matter. I don't think
Idris Elba has already said in interviews that he's not interested in playing James Bond.
Make him a villain.
That's not a career goal of his. But now he's flirting with the idea simply because he sees an opportunity to spite the angry racists in his comment
I don't even think he's flirting with the idea. I think he's just having this discussion because it's on a podcast and there's something that needs to be talked about. I actually think that for him, this is a net negative. To be his level of fame, his level of success, why would you subject yourself to this? It doesn't make any sense. I thought it was weird when Ben Affleck took the role as Batman. I'm like, you're already rich and famous. Why would you do that? Like, you don't need, and we're twice as divided as a society now than we were back then.
This is funny. In 2015, author Anthony Horowitz caused outrage after he said Idris Elba was too street to be Bond, and later he issued an apology.
That makes no sense.
That's not racial.
Given that Luther was already a show, and Luther was awesome. And also, it makes no sense. I guess maybe he's talking about, like, if he was considering it like his character in The Wire, but that's an American character that he's portraying in The Wire. And he had proven countless times dozens of times over and over again that that's not who he was. He has been acting for a very long time with a very, very diverse resume of acting roles. So I don't know what Horowitz was talking about there, but it's not a good critique.
He said, essentially, it was a huge compliment that every corner of the world, except from some corners, which we will not talk about, were really happy about the idea that I could be considered. Those that weren't happy about the idea made the whole thing disgusting and off-putting because it became about race. It became about nonsense, and I got the brunt of it.
Like I said, he didn't ask for it. It's not like he was advocating for the role at the time. People just, his name's always what came to mind.
I don't know. I think that, like, if James Bond has always been a white straight male, is it not fair to say he should continue being that? Simply on the basis of race, yes. Like, I want to stop with the gender swapping and the race swapping of all of these characters. It's gone too far. It genuinely has. Well, there's even characters that you don't care about, they'll race swap them.
Well, no, they do that on they do that on purpose. That they like that then because
to start the controversy that doesn't exist.
But also then they get to say canonical. They love to use that when they say it's now canon that this character is this, right? Like Nick Fury. Nick Fury was not originally black. Nick Fury was white in the comics, right? So, like, and this goes to, they do this with tons of characters in the comics. Starfire, like, there's so many of them that they do it to, and they do it because it's a lot easier to do it with those characters. And then now, this is the other thing that's funny about it. It never goes back. Very rarely does it ever then go back the other way.
Can you point out one example where they race swapped a character and then undid it later?
Yes, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I do have a couple of them that I usually use in this place. There are a couple. But the fact that it's so rare shows that it was a political decision in the first place, not looking for the right person for the role. Yeah. You know? Even if a black actor. They should do a white. You know what they should do? They should do a black actor, but they should have an American do it. Like then see what the critique is, right? Like have
Kevin Hart play.
Well, we had Robert Downey Jr. played Sherlock Holmes, so maybe we get they get Chris Hemsworth. They leave him with the Australian accent.
I just think even if a black actor can do well in the role of James Bond, that's not exactly the point. Because it's a politicized decision either way. Yep. And it's never going to be undid. Yeah. Kingpin in the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck was played by Michael Clark Duncan. Okay. And then they went back, and then Vincent D'Onofrio took over that character later. But it's so rare that happens. It almost non-existent. Yep. There's some other examples that I would have to think of. Like it or not, if Idris Elba got cast as James Bond, you can't tell me that the casting directors wouldn't see it as a plus that he's a minority. Well, the funny thing is regardless of how well he's able to play the role. It shouldn't matter because just like Samuel L. Jackson, it's not the fact that Samuel L. Jackson is black that's the draw there. It's the fact that Samuel L. Jackson is Samuel L. Jackson. But don't tell me that the casting directors don't see it as a positive, like an added bonus, that they've hired a minority. Yeah. Serenko Production says Robert Downey Jr. in blackface as James Bond. That would be freaking incredible. The dude playing another dude. Like let's go. Like I'm here for it. No, in fact, I'm on board with that one now. Or maybe you know what? We give them a swap, right? We have Kevin Hart as James Bond, and they give us Idris Elba as Iron Man. Even though he's already in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is sort of like if you criticize a Jordan Peele movie, you're automatically branded as a racist. If you criticized Idris Elba playing James Bond, you're racist. And I don't want to deal with that mess. Well, you're also criticizing Halle Bailey if she plays the Little Mermaid. Yeah. You know? Also, but did you see that they're making an animated series based on that movie? No. Yeah. Oh, gosh. They're putting it on Disney Plus, right? Yeah. Yep. What a dumpster fire. And now people are talking about Superman Legacy. Yep, well, Nicholas Hoult. Like here's one that has nothing to do with race. That it's not a good casting decision. He actually looks in this picture a little bit like old what's his name from Sherlock? Who? Sherlock, Doctor Strange, Sherlock. Oh. Benedict Cumberbatch. He actually looks a little bit Benedict Cumberbatchy in that British physiognomy. Yeah, he's looking a little bit Cumberbatchy. But he obviously doesn't look like a Clark Kent. No. We've got one from Because Reasons. He said, no, Mr. Bean should be the next James Bond.
Let's go. like Rowan Atkins. No, what if we get Monk to play? Tony Shalhoub can play James Bond next. How about that? He's a little bit. I would have to see what he looks like bulked up. I think if his face fills out after he puts on the muscle, I still don't think he really looks like Clark Kent. But
he has a triangular face. It doesn't make sense. You know?
Yeah.
The other candidates were who is this?
I didn't recognize any of the other names except for Emma Mackey.
Yeah, I had never heard of these guys.
Yep. But
David Corenswet and Tom Brittany.
Tom Brittany. David Corenswet. That's just an unfortunate name.
Yeah, David Corenswet looks too metrosexual for the role. Tom Brittany looks okay for the role.
Chat, who would you guys hire for, other than Henry Cavill, obviously? Who would you in the chat hire to play the next Clark Kent? I actually like Tyler Hoechlin as Superman Clark Kent in Superman and Lois. But the funny thing about it is, in the chat right now, Shimmy Shelley says weak jaw. The girl who plays Lois in Superman and Lois, Bitsy Tulloch, I guess she goes by Elizabeth Tulloch now, she has the jaw of the century. Like, she's got like a super jaw. So she's more Clark Kent than Clark Kent is in that.
Have you heard of the phenomenon of twink death, Brett?
No.
It's when an actor in his late teens or early 20s, sort of like Leonardo DiCaprio, is like super handsome and is like the it boy.
Yeah.
And then as he ages out of that look, he undergoes a twink death.
So they become stocky and they and husky. Like, is that what you'd call Leo? Is Leo husky? He's just kind of stocky.
I don't know. He looks like he's had too much.
They mentioned Ally McGregor mentions Jim Caviezel. Jim Caviezel at one point was going to play, was up for Superman back when, I believe, when Superman Returns was going to come out. But then I wanted him. I really, really wanted Jim Caviezel to be Batman. I wanted Jim Caviezel to be Batman really bad because I think
it's not going to happen now that he's talking about a dream, bro.
I mean, he's too old now, anyways. But he ended up getting to play the character of John Reese in Person of Interest, which is very much a Batman-esque type character, even though he's not a superhero.
I have been meaning
he's essentially
to rewatch Person of Interest.
Oh, it's so good. Now he's gonna be. The movie comes out the 4th.
Oh.
The Sound of Freedom comes up.
Yeah, we're going to be reviewing that.
Yep, like I'm excited to watch that. It is really weird seeing him with blonde hair in that. It's really uncomfortable. In the chat, Parodification says Bitsy Tulloch is beyond hot. Yes, I agree, but also watch her in Grimm. If you've never seen Grimm, her and Bree Turner in Grimm are fantastic. Another example of great characterization of female characters.
Thank you.
Who would you hire for Superman? Let's just give it to Zac Efron now.
Oh, I just saw a new tweet that says Nicholas Hoult has now lost out on playing both Batman and Superman. There's a chance he could still be on the shortlist to play Lex Luthor. People were also saying Bill Skarsgård would make a good Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
I think that's true.
Shaved head.
Yeah.
Yeah, like now they've got Michael Cudlitz playing Lex Luthor on Superman and Lois, or is he like is he Lionel Luthor? But he's a big husky dude. Like I don't really see it, but yeah, like he actually kind of looks Skarsgård-esque. Holt does in this photo. He's got the same sunken face. I don't know who you guys would want to play. Jay San says, let Tom Cruise be all the superheroes. He actually advocates against people playing superheroes. He says it's bad for your career. Yeah.
I think they're just giving Nicholas Hoult revenge plot so that he can play a villain.
I would also completely advocate for them bringing back Stephen Amell as Oliver Queen. I think Stephen Amell did a fantastic job as Oliver Queen as Green Arrow. So that's just.
Someone said, "Why would anyone want to play Batman or Superman? It's a long commitment. You'll be typecasted. You will always be that superhero, regardless of how much better work you've done."
Yep. What's funny is like I've been rewatching Sons of Anarchy, and I've been rewatching Lucifer. Tom Welling is great in Lucifer. And he's a dude who's like, he's still in superhero shape. That dude is you talk about husky? Tom Welling is a husky, but like super good shape. I would like to see Tom Welling come back. You know what? Let Tom Welling be Hellboy. That would be cool. Or Van Helsing.
Nicholas Hoult is just taking L's. Yeah. He also got turned down for Mission Impossible and Top Gun.
There was too much in the way there. Not Van Helsing. So yeah, like, is there anybody you would cast particularly? Like, who have you watched recently in a movie that was really, really good?
For Clark Kent?
No, yeah, for the role of Clark Kent. Who have you seen in a movie? Maybe one of the characters in Top Gun.
Oh yeah. What was his name? Something. Glenn Powell.
Yeah. Maybe for but the thing is I can only picture him with the mustache, so I'm trying to picture him without the mustache and I'm having a very hard time. I think
Who's the other one who's in a rom-com with Sydney Sweeney?
That's Glenn Powell, isn't it?
I thought that was a different guy.
Isn't that Glenn Powell? He's kind of maybe it's not Glenn Powell. That guy would be a good Robin. Would be a good.
No, yeah, that's Glenn Powell. But
yep.
he didn't have a mustache in Top Gun.
Who was
that
the guy?
A different guy.
That was a different guy who had the mustache. Yeah. Glenn Powell would play a good Robin. Would be a good Dick Grayson, I think.
Let me look it up. Oh, it's Miles Teller that had the
the stash. Okay. Both of those would be good to play for some type of role. I do want to know who they're going to...
Miles Teller's mustache was pitched to Tom Cruise with a photoshopped mustache.
Well, that's awesome. Well, dude, but also, like, did you see when they did that, like mustaches have already ruined enough superhero movies with Henry Cavill not being allowed to shave his mustache and then having it ruin the Justice League when they tried to CGI it out and it looked horrible.
Oh.
Yeah. Like because he was under contract at that time. He was doing Mortal Kombat. That'd been all. Who the hell would Henry Cavill play in a Mortal Kombat movie? So he was
contractually obligated to keep the mustache
for Mission Impossible because he was in Mission Impossible and he had the mustache. So he was required to keep it. So when they did the reshoots, he wasn't allowed to shave it off. So they did the reshoots. And what's funny about it is they didn't even need to show it there because it's like cell phone footage. But they still grab a close up of the kid with the phone looking at the mustache. They could have just done a shot where he's like looks from the side, make it really quick, and then turn his head around and do it. They didn't need to do that. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.